Just Give Me 5 is more than just a brand. It's really our way of giving back to the individuals who helped pave the way for so many opportunities today. It feels good giving them a chance to tell their story and let them be heard. Because if it wasn't for them, a lot of things wouldn't really exist. I'm Dave Miranda, and all I'm saying is just give me 5. In 1989, a young man out of San Diego, California, would meet two of the most iconic West Coast hip-hop artists of all time, Dr. Dre and Snoop Doggy Dogg. Then soon after, he would eventually become their official tour DJ. But he's also DJ for a lot of other legends as well, rocking shows all over the world, as well as mentoring young up-and-coming DJs with the hopes of one day creating their own legacy. He's also an avid collector and a huge animal lover. But most importantly, he's just a solid human being. And we're going to get into all that right now. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you the one, the only, DJ Jam. Jam, what's going on, my brother?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Man, thank you so much, man. You know, I know you are extremely busy, and we really appreciate this, man. We've been trying to make this happen for a minute. I want to say a few years, you know, when I met you at Trill. And, you know, shout out to Chuck, Ali, the whole Trill squad, you know what I mean? That's an Arizona gem.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
That's a worldwide gem right there.
Oh, it is.
I've been in collectible stores all over the world, and that one right there, Trill, oh my goodness.
And you get a lot of like hip hop legends that come out here, like Lord Finesse, for example, right? Like born and raised in the Bronx, you know what I'm saying? Never owned a pair of Gazelles. Till he went to Trill.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And it was funny because I remember like him and Crazy Legs were in there together, right? And Crazy like, you never had some Gazelles? You know what I mean? He's like, you gotta remember, man, when I was growing up, I was broke. You know what I'm saying? And by the time I was getting money, they weren't really in no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's funny, man. But yeah, man, like shout out to Trill, man. It's it's definitely a hip hop gem.
Yes.
And man, so you've been living in Arizona for quite a little bit of time now?
About 5 years now.
Yeah,
right before the pandemic hit.
Yeah, man. You know, and what do you think of Arizona? You know what I mean? We ain't losing you anytime soon. You gonna stick around?
You almost lost me a few times. With this heat out here, man.
I know
you almost lost me a couple times, but but man, it's beautiful out here, man. You know, honestly, besides the heat, the landscape, the whole landscape, the skylines, dude, are like colorful like no other. It's a beautiful place. So
definitely, man. You know, we're happy to have you. You know what I'm saying? Like that's so dope, man. It's interesting too because you'll come across like so many like hidden legends that just be here low key, and you're like, I didn't know that. You know
dude, since I've been here, I found out that all these different people live here that I never knew.
And they would be on the low.
I'll be somewhere and see somebody, I'm like, wait a minute. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, it's, and a lot of people tell me, you know, and I've been seeing, it's like, this is going to be the next, like Los Angeles almost, like they have everything LA has almost out here. Like they have the Rodeo Drive looking places with the shops. And all that is out here too, man.
It's a metropolitan California.
That's probably like why California, a lot of people are moving out here.
Right.
So maybe we should say it's too hot, so a lot of them won't come.
Right.
It's so hot out here, man. You don't want to be out here.
Yeah, exactly, right. Nah, man, but that's dope, man. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Jam. Well, yeah, man, we can go ahead and jump into it. So, what inspired you to become a DJ?
I guess the first thing, man, is going to those concerts, the hip hop shows, Fresh festivals back in the day as a kid, and me just being in the crowd, you know, looking at the DJs doing their thing up there, and just like, wow, I wanna be up there doing that. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. And yeah, that's kind of like what inspired me at first, and then what really made me really take it seriously was my brother-in-law and his friend. My brother-in-law was in the military, and he had a friend that he was in the military with, and he actually got out the military, and he was a big DJ from New Jersey.
Okay.
So he came to San Diego one summer to stay the whole summer.
Yeah.
And he bought his turntables, mixer, and 2 crates of records, right?
Yeah.
And while he was out in San Diego for the summer, my brother-in-law and him gave a couple parties for the military friends.
Okay.
Right? So, but basically, I would ride my bike, because I used to race bikes, BMX, full-time for a factory and everything, going around. A lot of people don't know that either.
Okay.
But so my thing was bikes. And when he came to town, I would ride my bike across town to my brother and my sister's house, apartment, to watch him practice.
Yeah.
Every day, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm just sitting there watching. And, you know, when they did the parties, they let me come to the party. I was young, but I was in there too, just watching them at the party. And at the end of the summer, when it was time for him to go back, my brother-in-law surprised me and basically paid him for his turntables and his mixer, because that was when you could, you know, everybody got their equipment from New York. You know, you ordered it, turntables, 1200s, all that came from New York.
Exactly.
So he just gave him money so he can just go get some more when he got home. And I was like, whoa. And so the guy left me 1 crate of records.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, here you go. You know what I mean? That's you. Go
Yeah,
for it. You know what I mean?
right.
And the rest was history.
Wow,
Yeah.
man. Because you were born in Maryland, but you grew up in San Diego?
Yeah. So I was really young, maybe 2-3 years old.
Okay.
And then moved to San Diego. Then lived there till I was around the 3rd grade, I think 3rd. Then moved to Dallas in the 3rd grade. Stayed there until the 6th grade.
Okay.
And then moved back to San Diego.
Okay. So the majority of your adolescent life, childhood was in San Diego?
Yep.
Growing up, you know what I mean?
San Diego, and then, like I said, it was about 6 to 8 years in Dallas, so I really got a good feel of that life. And going from Dallas to Houston with my cousin Johnny, every summer, basically, I got to take all of Houston in and all that too.
And around the time that around that era, like the Ghetto Boys were out, huh?
Yeah.
So you were getting a chance to kind of get that whole like.
Well, no, that was before the Ghetto Boys. I was 3rd to the 6th grade. Ghetto Boys didn't come until later.
Okay. So
I was still.
Because Ghetto Boys were like 87, 88 or something.
I moved back like 83, 82, 83.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So that was a little bit after that. And, you know, crazy you speak of the Ghetto Boys, because we'll get into that later on too, something that I just found out. So
Okay. I'm with it. So then, so at that point, you know, you got the crate, you know, and it's like, all right, you know what I'm saying, make something happen with that. And then I believe you were 15 when you rocked your first party?
Yeah, I was about 15 years old. Picked up my first turntable at 13.
Yeah.
And when I was around 15, that's when I was asked to do a house party.
Wow.
And so I got, I don't know, $50 or something like that.
Got paid,
and,
man. That's
got
a
paid.
gig.
So I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
And then I did that one house party though, and all the kids were there, and I rocked it. So I started doing everybody's house parties. You know what I mean?
Like,
in San Diego, and
dude.
that was the beginning of the DJ career.
They were like, he's our guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you started getting into the club scene.
Yep. Colleges, in clubs. Shout out San Diego State University, who was actually the #1 party school at the time.
Wow.
And I can say I was one of the DJs making it happen when they were the #1 party school. And I could really say honestly that I don't think it'll ever be the same. Like that era at San Diego State and how it was and how the parties were, it was crazy, man. And there was so many people, artists, because a lot of people that went to San Diego State were from Los Angeles. So a lot of the rappers and DJs from LA would come down to the parties and stuff too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And rock. So
exactly.
It was a big connection there.
Wow, man. You know, and what were some of the clubs that you were rocking at that time, like in San Diego, that were popping that maybe aren't there anymore?
Ooh, oh my gosh. We'll start with the colleges, of course. San Diego State University, San Diego City College. Those had commercials on the radio, and everybody showed up.
Yeah.
They had people. I remember LA Dream Team, and a lot of LA groups would come down and perform.
Yeah.
Then as far as clubs, oh my gosh, Bogies, club called Bogies, Cafe Vid, Purple Rain. That was really in the hood.
Huh?
Purple Rain was really in the hood. Stratus. Stratus was a club like no other because they had crazy commercials. The owner had a recording studio at the top of the club, and he used to do different voices, him and a couple of the employees, and so they had the craziest commercials for the regular clubs there. And everybody used to go, performances by different artists that used to show up. And it was huge. And even the college parties that I did at San Diego State and City College, we had commercials that nobody's commercial sounded like ours. It sounded like a concert was coming. Like you would have thought Run DMC was coming to town when you heard this commercial. And the promoter would go get the guy from the local TV station, the guy that did the service broadcasting announcements, this is KPBS, whatever. He would have that guy do it. But his voice was crazy. So we had the biggest parties.
Amped,
And then he would take that show up north to California. We would rock the fairgrounds, Bakersfield Fairgrounds, Sacramento convention centers. That big, and the whole town came out like it was a concert. And I got pictures of that too, because people wouldn't believe it.
That's dope.
But it was crazy, dude. We took the show on the road.
It was like the start of an era, you know what I mean? Like that you were a part of,
Yeah, big time.
And then from then on, you were rocking clubs, you had the house parties. So then you started taking it up a notch and you started getting into the DMC battles, right?
Yes, 1988. Actually, I got a phone call one day. I'm at the house, and one of my friends heard a commercial or something on the radio or an announcement about this DJ contest, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, there's a DJ contest." And I was like, "When is it?" And they're like, "Oh, it's tonight." Like, oh, wow. I'm like, well, let's go check it out. You know what I mean? At least I wanted to go see what it was about. I didn't have time. I didn't have a routine or anything. So I just went. And it was like in the afternoon, like late afternoon, 5 o'clock or something. So I show up at the club, and they had the competition, and they picked a winner from the competition, and then they made an announcement. They're like, yeah, so, we're going to have part 2 tonight. Later, so if you want to come back, because there were people watching, come back for the part 2, and we're going to have the second part of the competition. And I'm like, oh. And after I saw that one, I was kind of like a little pumped, you know what I mean? So I was like, shoot. I went home, made a routine real quick, came back and rocked.
Nice.
and won that one. So they took, DMC takes 2 people from every regional and city competition. So me and the guy that won in the afternoon went to the West Coast regional finals. And that was held in Hollywood, California.
Wow.
And LA DJs were not to be messed with at that time. That was 1580K, they was down, you know what I mean? And you had all these DJs, Joe Cooley, Curtis Harmon, DJ Brian G, just like a lot, Battle Cat, everybody was in the mix up there.
And hungry.
And Evil E, all these guys. So I remember going to Hollywood to the club, and sitting there, and all of a sudden Ice-T walks in with his whole big entourage and DJ Evil E, you know what I mean? And I'm just seeing all these guys walk in with the entourage, and I'm sitting there like, whoa, you know what I mean? I'm like, God. So we had to draw out of a hat the number to see who went first and whatever, right? So I drew last. My goodness, I drew last. After watching those dudes go up before me, and I already had my routine together, but after watching them, I had to scrap that routine and come up. I did some of the stuff but I had to do some stuff other than that
on the fly.
After I saw out on the fly, you know what I mean? And so I got up there doing my routine, and I just basically zoned everything out like I was in my bedroom, dude, and tried some stuff that I hadn't put in my routine before. And it worked. I didn't have not one needle jump. And back then there was no Serato. You had needles with weights, pennies, and dimes and stuff on it, you know what I mean? And I did that, dude, and me and Brian G took the competition. You know
guys
what I mean?
Went heads up?
Yeah, we went to the finals. Me and him won the regional that night. So dude, so I was just like, whew. You know what I mean? And then in the finals, DJ Cash Money had just won the new music seminar the end of the previous year, 87. He won the new music, so he had the belt, and he beat DJ Joe Cooley from LA, which
yeah.
a lot of people say, you know, it could have went either way, but Joe Cooley was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of West Coast people were like, oh, they cheated us, that type of thing.
Right.
So yeah, I went against Joe Cooley in the finals, where it was like 8 DJs, and Joe Cooley took it again, you know what I mean? Great competition. I met Joe Cooley, really cool dude, you know what I mean? To this day, we keep in touch every now and then.
Yeah.
Shout out to DJ Joe Cooley. Shout out to DJ Brian G. Bad Boy Bill, Mike Hitman Wilson, all these guys. So yeah, that was my DMC experience in '88.
In 1988.
Yeah.
Wow, man. You know, the DMC battles are they're huge. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like at that time, you know, it was like, it was special in a sense because it was like, it was still kind of fresh.
Yep.
You know, it's like this was like kind of like the
this was like when it was just first coming up.
You know what I mean?
So, I think it started 86. I believe around 86 is DMC.
Maybe like
started.
2 years in. You know what I mean?
And the dude actually in '87, we had a representative from San Diego made it to the finals and went to London that year in '87 for the finals. Joe Rodriguez, shout out to DJ Joe Rodriguez from San Diego, Jumpin' Joe Rodriguez. And years later, me and him were actually the DJs at 92.3 The Beat in Los Angeles. That was so crazy. Both lived like down the street from each other.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. See how like life works?
Yeah.
You know, and then I was gonna say, because then you got into radio. You know,
Yeah.
So you started on FM radio in San Diego. Right?
Yep. 92.3. 92.5.
92.5.
XHRM. Yep. They put me on. Shout out to Gene Harris. Rest in peace. He was afternoon personality on the radio.
Yeah.
And actually, I got my start not DJing on the radio. I was doing remixes.
Yeah.
I had a drum machine and little, everything.
Yeah.
And I started doing remixes, and I sent him a couple of remixes that I did. I think one of them was a song called Mercedes Boy by Pebbles.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
that was one of them. I sent it in to him and mailed it through the mail, and he hit me back, called me, and was like, hey, I got your remix, man. I really love it. He's like, can I play it on the air?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't got to ask me. Go ahead, And that's how I got my start in radio, by doing remixes that he would play and people would heard him, not DJing, but a remix. And then soon after that, another personality at the station started a radio show on Saturday mornings called SOS Jams, and it was run by the high school students.
Really?
Yeah, so I was in high school, and so I was the DJ.
Yeah.
For that show, and that's how I actually started mixing on the air just soon after that.
Wow, man. And he said Gene Harris, shout out to the homie Matlocks.
Yeah,
that was his uncle.
Yep.
And he was a legend out there, man.
Gene Harris. He was, remember I said I was just talking about how I would do the parties at San Diego State University. He was doing, before I was doing them, he was doing them. And he had like a big king chair that he sat in when he DJ'd. That was his thing, you know what I mean?
Like a throne?
Yeah, like a throne.
That's
you know
dope.
what I mean? Yep. Shout out Gene Harris, man.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So how was that like being on? That had to have been huge, man. Like you're on FM radio. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like here you are. You started off. You're doing house parties. You're rocking clubs, doing the DMC, and now you're like on FM radio, Doing
all the, before I was even on the radio, I was doing parties for schools.
Okay.
I did my first gig before I was getting paid was at my school. I was in junior high.
Okay.
And people knew me for DJing because I used to have my mixtapes and I would circulate them to the students, my friends, and they would dub them and pass them out. So the word got around and my tapes got around that I was a DJ, right?
Yeah.
And when you're in school, probably junior high, high school, they had a mobile DJ come to the school to play, right?
I remember those
and
days.
The guys would show up and he would play.
Hour.
Yeah, lunch hour, you know what I mean? The school couple dances they would have during the year. And the dude would show up and he would be playing stuff that we weren't into, you know what I mean? So we would basically be bored and like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
So the ASB at the school went to the school and said, hey, we want Jam to DJ.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because they like my tapes, right?
Yeah.
So the school was like, okay. So they would let me DJ a couple times at lunchtime.
Yeah.
That's how I started. You know,
Yeah.
see what we can do,
Get
what
your
he
shit
can
up,
do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
At lunchtime, I did it, and they really liked it. The students really loved it. And then at the end of the year, in my 9th grade, they let me do the end of the year dance. And, and then I was doing then skipped from junior high to high school. I was doing the parties on Fridays after the football or basketball games, sports games at the school.
Yeah.
Some student would have a party afterward at his house.
Yeah, yeah.
So I would do that. That led me doing the proms. You know what I mean? For our high school.
Yeah.
Word got around to other schools. Then I was doing other school proms in San Diego. And I got school credit for doing that because they called it work experience because that was the profession I was getting paid.
Right.
So I didn't have to come for 7th period.
That's dope.
Because I had work experience, so I would leave school, you know.
Right. That's super
and I would just
dope.
have to turn in like the places I DJ'd, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that
yeah,
month,
yeah.
And I would turn it into school, and they were like, okay.
Right, they gotta make sure
Credit.
it's legit. Yeah. Oh,
So,
that's fire, man.
Shout out to the schools for letting me do that. Yeah.
Wow, man. You know, and that's so cool, man. You know, like because yeah, I mean, it's like now you're making your name around town. You're young.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I was the youngest DJ
kid,
doing
man.
it. Like all the other DJs took me under their wing. They were older than me. You know what I mean? That were really doing
They
it.
saw the potential. They were like, no, he's gonna be something. You know.
Shout out to Cool T in San Diego. He's like the mentor. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Shout out Cool T. Shout out DJ Gill, Mid City Productions, King Arthur, all these guys. DJ Oz. Magic Man. These guys were the staples in San Diego. So.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
I love it. You know, because it's like I'm familiar with the San Diego like hip hop scene, even though it's not huge. You know, but you have J.O. Felony.
Yes.
You know, you got Little Rob. I mean, you have some artists, right? Yep. But the DJ scene, I'm intrigued by it because that's something I've never really been too informative on. You know what I mean? So like it's like to know these guys, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. San Diego DJs were on point, man.
Yeah.
We took it seriously. We take the craft seriously. You know, when it comes to I would say San Diego DJs, what really inspired me was the ability of their blending techniques. You know, masters, dude, at blending. You know what I mean? That's kind of my staple. And that's kind of a West Coast thing also. You know, as growing up as a DJ, one thing I noticed that one of the differences between the East Coast and West Coast is West Coast DJs were into the blending a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
East Coast were more, cutting, and it was about mic presence.
Right.
You know, New York DJs were great on the mic, you know what I mean, to control the crowd.
DJ Brucey B, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all that. They were very vocal on the mic. And West Coast was not as vocal on the mic, but we were blending records like no other.
It was what I'm gonna show you these hands do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love it, man. How did you come up with the name Jam?
Yeah, good question. Remember I told you the crew I was with that was doing San Diego State University and City College. Well, when I was introduced to them because I would go to those parties and watch those Cool T and Magic Man and all these guys.
Yeah.
And there was a DJ named Goldfinger that was cool with those guys.
Okay.
And he saw me DJ a party one time and he really liked what I was doing.
Okay.
And he was like, hey man, he's like, I want to introduce you to the people Southern California Jam Company. That was the company that did those parties. I want to introduce you to the owner. His name was Steve Franklin, and to see if you can start rocking those parties. Nice. So he made the introduction at early one night before the party at San Diego State, and he's like, "All right, the next party, I want to let you open." Right? So I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." So the next party, the dude that made the introduction, that introduced me, he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a little hint. A couple of these songs are his favorite songs, so make sure you put these in your set when you do the right." So I'm like, okay. So I came and rocked and put those songs in the set, and after my set, he came up. He's like, "All right, man." He was like, "I really like what you did." He was like, "I'm putting you on." He was like, "So what's your DJ name?" right? And at the time, I was just using my name, my last name, DJ Nash, whatever. Yeah, I can't remember something Grand Mixer, DJ Nash, or something like that.
Yeah, everybody had a Grand Mixer.
Yeah, you know, he was like, but I basically it's DJ Nash, and he was like, man, we gotta give you something for radio, for the commercials, you know. You gotta let's come up with another name. And I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, what do you think?
We gotta
he was
shorten
like,
it up or something.
he was like, Jam, cause you were jamming, man. I really liked your set. And I was like, okay. So DJ Jam it was, and the rest was history.
And I love, and speaking of, I love how like your intro, like you use like Teddy's Jam.
Yep,
like,
that was my signature.
That's cool, man.
The Teddy's Jam, oh Jam.
Yep.
And Dr. Dre, every time he sees me, that's the first thing he says to me. Jam, oh Jam, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's my moniker.
So everything's, you know, you're rocking in San Diego, you know, it's the late 80s, everything's just grooving, right? How did you get the opportunity to become the DJ, official tour DJ for Dr. Dre and Snoop? How did that all happen?
Okay, another story. I'm full of stories. Okay, so remember I was telling you I was rocking the parties at San Diego State University, right?
Right.
So they have a thing every year called the Greek Show. The Greek Step Show, right?
Okay.
Where all the Greeks come in from out of town, other colleges, they come to town. Remember, San Diego State was the #1 party school at the time.
So they're coming.
So these oh goodness. So I was rocking these, so before those, okay, so that I just set the tone with the parties. But when I would rock the regular parties, you know, during the year at the school, there was a guy that went to San Diego State that would always show up at these parties. And one day, and I would always notice him in the crowd and kind of hanging out beside the DJ booth, you know, type of thing, you know, kind of looking at me.
There's always that one guy.
Yeah, that one dude, right?
Yeah.
And so one night after my set, he came up to me and he was like, hey, man, you did your thing up there. Really, you know, I've been checking you out for a while. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But he's like, yeah, he goes, man, I got a homie in LA who's dope on the mic. He's like, I want to introduce you. I'm going to bring him down here one day to meet you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his name is Corrupt, right? And this was before the Dog Pound, all that, right? So I'm like, okay, cool, right? So I'm rocking parties, time's going by, I'm still seeing him, but he ain't bringing this dude, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably like the whole rest of the year, never brought the dude, whatever.
Right.
So the next year comes, and the Step Show comes, right? And I'm in control of the whole at this time, San Diego State says, hey, we're not just hiring you to DJ, we want you to take care of all the entertainment for the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Oh, wow.
I want you to coordinate everything. You're gonna be DJing all the events, You can even bring other DJs if you want. And then I went to him, I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, why don't you, can we bring an artist? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To perform at the actual Step Show event that was in the amphitheater at San Diego State.
Okay.
And they had never done that before, right? And so they trusted me, and they're like, you know, who should we bring?
Right.
That was like when the Dog Pound was first getting together as a group, or whatever. So I bought Corrupt and Daz. I bought WC and the Mad Circle down. And I booked Common Sense.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Right.
Show you how that happened. Let me go to the right real quick.
Yeah.
So I had a cassette of Can I Borrow $1?
Yeah,
Common
man.
Sense.
Yep.
On the back of the cassettes, you know how I used to say in writing, for booking, call this number.
Right.
I knew how to book an artist or whatever, but I just called the number.
Yeah.
His manager answered, his name was Squirrel. Shout out to Squirrel.
Wow.
And I was like, hey, I told him who I was, and I'm doing this big Step Show. All the Greeks are going to be there. It's amphitheater, whatever. You know, I want to bring you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it going to take? And they're like, wow. They were surprised. They're like, wow, at the college and da-da-da-da. Like, yeah. So they gave me the price, and I went back to San Diego State, and I said, you know, this is how much it's going to be for Common, WC, Mad Circle, Dog Pound. Gave them the whole budget. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh shoot. They said, yeah.
That's it to go.
So I made it happen. You know what I mean? And bought these guys down. It was packed. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And at that point, I didn't even know. I was just hoping that Common was going to show up because he's coming from, you know,
Chicago.
back east or whatever, Chicago.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hope he shows up. He shows up. And it's packed, you know what I mean? And I go to meet him, you know, in person, and he's like, man, thank you for having me. You know what I mean? He was really appreciative because he saw the audience and everything. And it was, dude, the whole show was great. And ever since then, you know, skip years later when, you know, I know we're going to go back some, but skip years later when I hook up with Snoop and Dre, we would do a show or MTV Awards or whatever, and if Common would be there, you know what I mean? And I'm walking around at the awards backstage and Common sees me. This is years later. And he remembered me.
He remembered.
And comes up to me. Yo, thank you. You know, I want to thank you again, man. For, you know what I mean?
That's
and
solid, man.
Till this day, like, always, you know, shout out Common,
you
man.
looked out for him.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, so going back to how I got that position. So at the on Sunday is the final event at the Greek show before people went back, and it's a picnic on the football field, right? So it's a big stage set up. You know, I'm DJing. Everybody's like a big picnic. And I'm DJing, and all of a sudden this dude comes, that guy that always would watch me, he comes to the side of the stage, he's waving at me. So I looked at him, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So I'm like, put down my headphones and I run over there. I'm like, what's up, man? He goes, yeah, remember the dude I was telling you about, Corrupt? I go, yeah. He goes, this is him right here. So I look, you know, I'm up on the stage, I looked at him, I go, are you Corrupt, man? I said, he been talking about you for the past year and a half. You know what I mean? And he goes, yeah, I'm Corrupt. and back then, dude, like, it wasn't the thing for, you know, rappers to come up and grab the mic during a party and rap, because if they weren't, you know, if they were whack, the people were like, we want to dance. Boo. Right?
Yeah, you get booed.
So I'm like, since his boy pumped him up so hard, right? I said, come on. You know what I mean? I said, you better be dope, dude, or they're gonna let you have it, right? So I brought him up on stage, I give him the mic, and I put on, never forget this, I put on In Vogue, Hold On. Doom, doom, start cutting that up. Dude, he grabbed that mic and must have freestyled for 5 to 10 minutes straight. And the whole crowd's mouths were wide open, like, who is this dude? Back then, I used to record all of my DJ sets at the parties. I used to bring my cassette boombox that record. So I got it on cassette. I got that.
Oh, wow.
I have that on cassette. So it's going to be digitally remastered at some point. You know what I mean?
Man.
That's history right there. And that's how it all happened.
Absolutely. And that's when Corrupt was just vicious. I mean, straight out of Philly.
So he was just straight out of Philly at the time, not Dog Pound related. This is Philly. And the reason why he was in LA is because he was doing features for the SOS band.
Really?
Dude. If you go on some of SOS Band's older albums, you're going to see Corrupt featured on a couple of those songs.
Really?
Yes. So he was in LA.
SOS Band.
Yes, me too. You know, that was one of the biggest groups I would play. Dude. I would rock. And so that's why he was in LA, you know, doing that. You know what I mean? And I don't know, a year or two later, I transferred colleges to Cal State Dominguez Hills in LA because I was a music major, but I wanted to study audio. I wanted to study audio engineering. And Cal State Dominguez has a recording program. They got recording studios. So I transferred up there. So when I got there, I had my own apartment on campus. Right? And it's usually on those apartments, it's 2 rooms, 2 bedrooms, and it's 2 like beds to a room. So it's like you share it with another student. So it's 4 students to each apartment. You know what I mean? 2 in each room, right?
Got you,
So for some reason, I had my own to myself. It was just me. So I had my mobile gear with me. So I had my big bass cabinets and my tops because I was going back and forth, still rocking San Diego parties as well as doing parties in LA. And I had my drum machine and everything in my apartment on campus. So when I got there, transferred schools, Corrupt would have somebody drop him off at our campus, and he would come in my apartment just to write. So I would put on either instrumentals from records that I had or play beats for him to write, right?
Wow.
So I would take him back home in the evening after we finished, right? So one time, and I knew he hung around with a crew or whatever, so he was like, oh, take me over here. I want to hook up with the rest of the guys. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay. So I took him and he's like, so I gave Corrupt my mixtapes. So he had my mixtapes, and he would take the mixtapes and play them around the crew.
Right.
So they found out. I was like, "Who is this dude? Oh, this
Yeah.
DJ from San Diego." Da, da, da. Oh, okay. So one time when I dropped him off over there, he's like, "Come in, man. They want to meet you because they've been hearing your mixtapes." So I'm like, "Okay." So I went in the apartment, and it was Snoop, Nate, like the whole Daz, everybody, right? So they finally, so I was the DJ dude from San Diego,
Wow.
right? So
they were young,
right? Yeah, we were young. So basically, we all started hanging out. You know what I mean? I was a DJ, and so now that's how I met that side. Okay.
Yeah. So that's Snoop.
Okay. That's the Dog Pound side. I mean, yeah, Snoop and the Dog Pound side, right?
Right.
So when I moved, also some of the LA promoters, knew of me because it was one of the biggest running clubs in LA called Jamaica House, right?
Okay.
It was a weekly club. This is where all the celebrities, rappers, singers, athletes, you know what I mean, actors hung out every week.
Nice.
Big club, and they always had a performance, but they would never advertise who was going to be performing. You had to just show up.
Okay.
And I mean, it's the who's who. Run DMC, Tupac, Nas, Busta Rhymes, you know, back then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you know, and of course the West Coast artists too, but all the biggest of the big artists were performing there, but you had to just show up to see who was gonna, so they bought that club to San Diego, right?
Wow.
They called the radio station because they wanted commercials.
Yeah.
Hey, we're bringing this club, it's called Jamaica House.
Yeah.
We want to get commercials from you, we're bringing this club, but we don't want to just bring our LA DJs. We need a San Diego DJ to represent. You know what I mean? So they didn't seem like they were just coming in and, you know what I mean? So San Diego people would feel good about, you know, going there too.
Right.
So like, yeah, who should we contact? And they're like, oh, you need to talk to Jam, right? They hit me up. Hey, this is Jamaica House. We're coming down. Can you be the DJ? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, right? First night, so a lot of their promoters went to San Diego State because they were from LA, right? First night, line down the street, wrapped around the corner to get into the club.
Wow.
Okay. Ice-T was on the bill for the first opening night.
Okay.
He was there, packed. When I DJ'd in San Diego, what separated me from everybody else was the fact that I had a drum machine sampler, the Akai MPC 60, before it came out. Because I used to go to the professional audio store in San Diego, because they had turntables and equipment. So I used to just go checking out, messing with stuff, right? And I met the owner one of the times because I used to always go in there, right? So he was like, oh, had a relationship with him. One day I walk in there and they have this Akai MPC 60 in this glass case, you know, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, starts explaining to some of the employees, like, oh, it does this and that. And they started showing me what it does. And I'm like, I got to have this. You know what I mean? But it wasn't out yet. It was just on display, like, it's coming soon.
Oh, okay.
And I went into the office with the dude and I was like, I got to have this. Blah, blah, blah. So he's like, he sold it to me.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I'll get more. They're gonna come in soon. You know, I'm just showing it anyway. And I know he saw my eagerness, so he sold it to me, right? And I would go and program the hottest sections of the hottest records that were out. You know what I mean? Phrases and loops. Right? On the pads. And then I also had the Jam from Teddy Riley on the pads and some other samples. DJ, all that. So I would create sequences in here with these beats, each sections of these beats, and then some of them I would have this song beat with this sample mixed together on the sequence. You know what I mean? And had sequences, and I was just rocking. Dude, people used to gather around the DJ booths when I started, because I didn't start with records.
And
I started my set, live. I started my set with the sequence stuff, not the turntables. So I would hit play, boom. People were like, what is this? Next thing you know, there's people all around the DJ booth, and I'll be rocking the sequences. DJ Jam, Jam is on the mix. I have my little nephew say, DJ Jam is on the mix. I put that in, dude, crazy, right? Then I had 2 acapellas one on each turntable. So I would rock the sequences for a minute, then all of a sudden break down to one sequence and then rock and bring in an acapella verse from a song,
Yeah.
and then I would go flip the sequences as the acapellas rocking, and people were just like losing their minds. And then after that verse, I would have go on the other turntable and bring in another verse from a different song and keep rocking, switching the sequences while it's going.
Yeah.
Before I went into the first record, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I did that at Jamaica House the first night.
Yeah.
They had never seen anything like that before.
I can
I
imagine.
blew the whole club up.
Yeah.
After the promoters for Jamaica House was like, yo, man, can you start coming to our club
Right.
and doing that? And I was like, yeah. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
started driving. That was before I transferred colleges then. So I would just drive up there for
Nice.
their night
Yeah.
and rock there. So when I rocked Jamaica House in LA, not only did all the celebrities come, but all the top club promoters
Yeah.
came, right? Everybody was there. Saw me rock. I went from DJing at one club to DJing 6 of the hottest clubs in LA every week.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Nice, yeah.
So one night I'm at Jamaica House rocking, doing that set, the drum machine and everything. Dr. Dre shows up with Suge
Okay.
and watches me. This time, at this point, Dre's not out there. He had just left Ruthless Records and he was laying
So
low.
Death Row is like on the rise.
No,
Like, or-
there is no Death
Oh,
Row
it's
at
not
this
even a
point.
thing.
No,
Gotcha,
he had
yeah.
split up with Ruthless,
Yeah.
and he was just laying low. He wasn't doing anything at the time. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So he comes in there, sees me rock like that. After my set, he invites me to dinner.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, man, I'm inviting you to dinner next week, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It was at a strip club in Century City. Right. So we're there eating
We'll
steak.
get some wings.
We're in there eating steak and lobster, watching the girls, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so he's like, hey, man, he's like, I'm about to start this project in a few months, and it's going to be called The Chronic.
Jeez.
He's like, I need a DJ. Are you down? And I'm like, Dre's asking. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I said I'm down, but at the same time, I'm like, is he really gonna call? You know what I mean? I'm still not. I'm still
Right.
kind of like numb to the fact because this
Yeah.
LA. Like there's a lot of dope LA
Yeah, is it
DJs you could
gas or
ask.
is
You
it
know what I
real?
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I didn't grow up there. You know what I mean?
For
Like
sure.
that. So I was just like, cool, man. So didn't know if he was really gonna call me. But a few months later, he calls. He's
Yeah.
like, all right, man, it's that time. He's like, can you meet at the studio? This is a studio I'm at, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So after school, because at that point I was going to Cal State Dominguez Hills at that point, living
Okay.
on campus.
Yeah.
So I'm like, cool. So he gives me the address, and I come to the studio, start coming to the studio, and I would bring my book bag, right? And I'll put it on the couch, and I would sit there at the board with him
Yeah.
and just watch him, working on beats or whatever. And then some of his friends would come in, like later during the day, evening time, his friends would start coming in the studio.
Yeah.
And then I would fall back on the couch
Okay.
and break my books out, my audio engineering books and stuff. And I'd be sitting there, and one time I did this, and he turns around and he sees me with my books. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm studying. He's like, oh, you're in school? I goes, yeah, I go to Cal State Dominguez Hills,
Right.
auto engineering. And he just, at that point, man, he like had a different appreciation for me. You know what I mean? I just wasn't that dope DJ, but
Yeah.
he saw me as a mind, a head on my
Right.
shoulders. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's when he like felt really comfortable with that trust. Like I'm not just, out here
Yeah, that's
acting
a
up
good
and
kid.
yeah,
Like,
you know what I
thinking,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
I think he really felt comfortable with me. So that was really cool. And then so one day I'm sitting there at the board with him, and all of a sudden, dude, the door opens in the studio and Snoop and the whole crew walk in.
Wow.
And remember, at this point, it wasn't Death Row and all this stuff going on with them, and barely probably Deep Cover. I don't know. Yeah, it was out. They had just
yeah.
did that.
They
You know
ju-
what I
yeah,
mean?
they
So
just did the
it
record.
really wasn't no big correlation like that.
Yeah.
So they walk in and they see me sitting there,
Yeah.
and they're like, see me, and they're like, what are you doing here? Right?
Right. Right. Like, that's
and I didn't know. I'm just like, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, what are you guys
What are
doing
you
here?
doing? Yeah.
Right? And then Dre turns around and he's like, you guys know each other?
Wow.
At that point, dude, that's what solidified me. Just because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have happened anyway, maybe.
Yeah, but he's like, you know, dog?
Everybody
Yeah.
started tripping off me then. They're like, wait a minute. You just infiltrated both sides of this crew, and you're from San Diego.
Yeah.
How did you know what I mean?
Right.
And it was just that energy. I mean,
Yeah.
Right place,
it was
right
undeniable
time.
then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what made me the death row DJ for everybody.
Wow,
Yeah.
man. That just, man, you're giving me these, man. That's just incredible.
You never know, man. Just stay ready. Stay ready. Don't get ready. Just be ready.
Yeah, what do they say? Like 80% of success is just showing up.
Yeah, showing up.
You know?
Be the best that you could be, man, and let everything fall in place.
Wow, man. So now the Chronic is taking it's being made.
Yes.
And you're there for all of this.
Yes.
You know? What was that experience like? You know, like just seeing like Snoop, you know, record like nothing but a G thing or something. Like you're just there.
Yeah, it was crazy because I'm gonna take it back a little bit more because man, my life has been really crazy. You'll see a documentary, come out in the future because of a couple things. But actually, that wasn't my first time meeting Dre. Back from San Diego, I was part of a compilation that was put out. Basically, the first rap group to be signed by a major to MCA Records. It was a compilation album. The compilation group as a whole was called the Vicious Beat Posse, and it consisted of 4 different groups. And one of them was a female artist named MC Deb B, right?
Yeah.
I was her DJ. She came to me to DJ for her. Wow. So, and the person who produced that whole thing was one of the DJs from one of the DJ crews I belonged to. Before I went to the Southern California Jam Company, I was in a crew called the Mid-City Productions with the DJ I was just talking about named DJ Gill and King Arthur.
And King Arthur,
right?
yeah.
Well, DJ Gill was a producer.
Okay.
So I used to watch him work with his drum machine and stuff at his house too. So he was the producer of that whole compilation, and which was signed to MCA Records. Mm-hmm. So we would go back and forth at first to do business or record in LA and Hollywood until MCA Records actually got us an apartment in Hollywood. So we didn't have to go back and forth when we started doing making the actual album.
Right.
So I don't know where they met, but Deb B, I think we were out somewhere as all of our crew, and Dre was there, and Dre met my MC Deb B.
Yeah.
Right? And they cooked up. Okay. And so he would come by the apartment to come chill with Deb, while all of the rest of us was there too. But we weren't like, oh, Dre, we were just because we were signed too. We were a group, so we were like, we were chilling, we what I mean? Busy. Yeah, we were chilling. So they would come and they'd be doing their, thing, and we doing our thing. So that's how I first met Dre. So I had to remind him of that. After we met him, like, man, you realized years ago, and he was like, what? You know what I mean? Wow. So he thought that was crazy too, which probably another reason why I got in,
because he knew that's facts.
Yeah,
like, that really happened. Yeah.
So that's how kind of all that happened, man, and us coming together, and just crazy, like.
So then the Chronic, starts getting made, like, and then it's like, so you already knew, you already had that relationship with Dog and Dre, you know what I mean, everything, but like, what was that experience like? Because that's just like a timeless moment. You know what I'm saying?
And because I was a DJ, well, I still am a DJ, but most DJs are electronic gadget. They're into electronic gadgets. Yeah. You know what I mean? So back then, I had a camcorder.
Yeah, yeah.
And it wasn't the norm to have camcorders.
Right.
Back then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if that was rare to find somebody with a camcorder, but because I'm a DJ, love electronics, I had a camcorder. Didn't know what I was using it for. I just thought they were cool, right?
Yeah.
So I had
on TV,
I had a camcorder. So I would have my camcorder out when we were all together.
Yeah.
Just be filming. Didn't know, just whatever, filming everything. I'm filming the making of the Chronic and all that, and it's crazy because those guys used to make fun of me.
Yeah.
Because I would always have the camera out. Jam, you got that camera out again? Just in fun, you know what I mean? And years later, they're like, Jam, where's that footage?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, you guys were laughing at me. Now you want to know where the footage is. So yeah, dude, I had all this footage in, when it was time for like VH1 and these different networks to do these stories about
like
Dre.
Behind the music and all
the first
that,
thing they would be asking them is, hey, we need some old footage.
Yeah.
You guys have? No, we don't, but we know who does, right?
Right.
So a lot of some of that stuff came, the early footage came from my tapes, right?
That's so dope, man.
So yeah, it was crazy, dude, years later, but even to today, networks know I have these tapes.
Yeah.
So I'll get reached out to some people like Netflix, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
oh,
yo,
yeah.
Jam, what's up? You know, because
Oh,
they have
yeah.
budgets, they want to sign these lifestyle projects.
Absolutely.
And they know I have this stuff, but you know, I'm always like, no. They're like, yeah, just bring us all the tapes and we'll suck them into the system, and
Yeah.
you know, as we use them, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But so we're on the set of the video shoot for Still DRE.
Yes, I remember you telling. Yep.
So I'm in the trailer because it was between shots. So it's just me, Dre, and John Singleton
Yep.
in this trailer. And they're talking, I'm sitting on the couch, they're talking across at the table. And John's like, asked Dre something about, you know, footage. He's like, hey man, because I guess he wanted to know, maybe mess with it or something. If he
Yeah.
had it. Hey man, I know you guys had to have some old footage of you guys. I'm sitting there, I'm listening, hearing this.
Yeah.
And Dre goes, no, and then all of a sudden he turns around. I knew it was coming. He turns around, he's like, no, I don't, but I know who does. And he turns around, looks at me, John Singleton looks at me, and he goes, you have footage? And I go, yeah. He goes, do you understand what you have? And I didn't know. I'm like, yeah, I got a bunch of footage with us on it.
Right.
He goes,
I got some dope stuff, you know?
He
You know
goes,
what I mean?
he goes, no. He's like, man, that's priceless.
it's a gold mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like, man, that's priceless. You better put that somewhere safe.
Yeah.
Keep it in a good, you know, temperature, blah, blah, all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shoot, I just had it in boxes somewhere. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, well, you know, when it comes time, when you have time and to start going through it, you know, hit me up, let me know, I'll help you with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know what I mean? So even, you know, rest in peace, John Singleton.
Yeah, God
but
bless, man.
a couple years after that, he started his own record label, which I eventually helped him with, you know, asking me what I thought about these songs and stuff like that with his record label.
John Singleton had a record label? I didn't know this.
Yeah. Was it called New Deal? Because he had New Deal. I think it was New Deal Records.
Really?
And, yeah. So I would listen to the music for him and whatever. But we never got to the point of this footage. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then when he passed away, because I've been so busy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just put it up.
Right.
And then when he passed away, it really hit me because I was like, that was the dude I was gonna go to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so that after that, it kind of went back on the back burner again. I was like, oh
Yeah,
well, I'll get to it
right.
when I get to it.
Right.
But now actually I'm back on it now, and I'm
Good.
starting to actually review tapes for the first time.
Wow.
With some people, some editors, and
Okay.
putting together a team of people as we speak.
Good.
For this whole project, because I have almost 200 tapes.
Wow.
So it's not a documentary. It's a series thing. I have enough tapes for because this covers different phases of us rocking. So even at the first, when we're doing these songs in concert, when we're doing these certain songs in concert at the beginning to where we do these same songs at this part of the timeline, you see the progression of how we used to do them. So it's a series, dude, that I have, not a documentary.
Because you were around for Doggy Style.
All that.
All of it, man.
All that. The making. I have that on footage too. I had the camera in Doggy Style. I'll tell you a little thing about Doggy Style. You know, Jimmy Iovine.
Yeah.
Interscope.
Interscope, yeah.
So when it's time to put out Doggy Style, he missed the deadline. Jimmy Iovine told Dre, we need this by this date because it's fourth quarter. We want to put this out before Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Dre does not care about anybody's deadline. Never have, never will.
Clearly. Yeah.
He says it's done when I say it's done.
Yep, that sounds
That's
like
Dre. He's a perfectionist, and that's just how he gets down.
Yeah.
Jimmy Iovine started coming to the studio every day, sitting there, waiting.
Putting the pressure.
Yeah, like he's putting the pressure.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I got the camera.
Dang.
I don't even like,
Right.
and I have this on camera. You know what I mean? Like some of the footage, and then he like rented a spot on the runway where the planes come in I guess they had a private jet come in waiting for the masters. So after we went and had it mastered at Bernie Grutman's, it went straight, and he had the private jet come to take it to wherever it needed to go.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that serious, dude. Never forget. And I got a lot of it on footage.
That was like, what, 93? Right? When Doggy Style dropped?
Yeah, yep.
Because the Chronic was 92?
Yep,
Yeah.
92, and that was 94. So it was like the end of 93.
Yeah, because then the Dog Pound was starting to, they dropped in 95, I want to say, right? The Dog Food album. What a time, you know, it's like, and you'll never see that again, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that
it's
just that whole thing, man, of just the Death Row being put together.
Yeah.
You know, for the first time that I can remember, Bloods and Crips coming together as one to build a team.
Right.
That was crazy.
Exactly, because all of Snoop's
crazy. You had Snoop,
you had Suge's
Snoop
posse,
side, and you had Suge's side. So Suge had all his boys, Snoop had all his boys, and it tripped me out.
Right.
Because I come from San Diego, and there was no game in San Diego, Crips and Bloods. You know what I mean?
Oh,
they got down.
Oh,
so
yeah.
At first I was just like, whoa, how is this
in
gonna
that
work?
time period?
Yeah, in this time period.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
I was just like, whoa, how is this gonna work?
Right.
But that told me from seeing that happen that I know it can be done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when we started going on the road, that was our security. We didn't have like the real security guys, you know what I mean? We just took the homies.
Yeah.
And seeing them side by side to protect us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like
and in a few instances, we were tested in spots. You know what I mean? Like these dudes, St. Louis or whatever, I can't remember all these spots, but they were together, and they were together like this, and I was just like, wow, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because it's like normally these are guys that would be taking your life.
Yeah.
Now they're protecting
Now they're
it.
protecting
They're saving it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
like,
they would be, you know, not with each other. They would be killing each other.
Yeah.
Now they're working together
Exactly.
to protect as a crew. And
because I think they looked at it more of the big picture, is that the only real color that matters is green right
yes,
now.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's
so
what
it's
it
like,
was.
That's what it was, man. You know.
So I'm liking how that happened, and then you skip years later, and you see now Bloods and Crips getting together and working together.
Yeah.
You know, even still down from where they are, where they're from,
right.
But it's like they're working together. Rappers working,
yeah.
you know, together, and that's a beautiful thing.
It was
man.
a big deal when DJ Quick dropped the Rhythmalism album because he was wearing blue on the cover.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
Like that was like a big deal. You know what I mean? It's like
big time.
Just shows you that it's just it's growth, and you know, we're not necessarily above anything, but it's just that, you know, we can grow and mature and just be men. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I love it, man. And you know, so now that era. So what were some of the tours? Because I mean, it was the Chronic. You did the Doggy Style tour as well.
Yeah, there was so many tours,
gosh,
man.
You know, like the Up in Smoke.
Many tours.
What was like? What was like one? God, I mean, because there were so many, but it's like, if you had to think, Jam, like, what was one like memory, whatever tour, right? That just really, really, they stood out to you, that you're like, that was just incredible. I know it's tough.
There's so many, man, but let me think. I know one thing that I'm never gonna forget is when we rocked Live Aid in London.
Okay.
That was one of the biggest shows ever put together for the amount of people that were in it. You know, they shut down the whole park for as far as you can see in London.
Wow.
And, you know, Paul McCartney, the Beatles were on the bill. All these big class acts were on the bill.
Wow.
And I remember Paul McCartney and some of these other big acts coming to, everybody wants to meet Snoop.
Wow.
Yeah,
man.
every time we're on tour, whether celebrities, wherever, old, young, they want to meet Snoop.
Oh,
so I got to meet so many people.
Wow.
That was one of the things that I really liked and appreciated and never took for granted, is the amount of people that I've met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From different points in life, are doing different things, and I actually got to sit and met, and a lot of them exchanged numbers with me.
Wow.
Just because I was sitting next to Snoop and Dre
right.
as their DJ, and these guys would check up on me every now, hey Jam, you know,
Yeah.
how are you doing? Just checking, you know, and it'd be like suction, you know, so and so, you know what I mean? And and then when I go somewhere without them and see them, it was all good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was crazy to me, you know, just seeing all that. But Live Aid was like one of the biggest shows when we would rock Brazil. I just got to talk about that because that was incredible. 60 to 100,000 people.
Was this like you and Dre or Snoop or who was the?
Snoop.
That was you and Snoop.
Yeah, Dre didn't really go too many places outside the country and travel. But
okay.
Snoop was the one we went everywhere.
Yeah. Well, he was a national superstar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's so cool, man. You know, it's like, and the fact that you guys are still down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's still fam.
It's like fam. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just to see it, and it's got to be so, it's got to be like a special feeling too to see how the two of them, right, like their lives like transpired, like
and
to
see what directions that they went. Yeah, man. I mean, with the whole crew,
all of them
on the business side, everybody's got their things that they do, you know, and to the toppest of the levels. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to Dre and Snoop. The people that are behind them, you know what I mean, and really make it happen for them and really brought them up to that stage, you know.
Definitely,
the Jimmy Iovine's and just putting them in position, you know.
Oh yeah, man. Because I know Warren G wasn't officially Death Row, but you DJ'd for him too, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I know DJ Rectangle was his DJ as well,
at first,
right? And then you and Rectangle, San Diego.
Yep, San Diego.
You know what I mean? So there's that. You know,
shout
I know
out
that,
DJ Rectangle.
I know that shit, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, man. Oh man, he's a butcher when it comes to cuts. Rectangle.
Oh yeah. His tapes in the '90s were
my goodness,
serious.
My goodness. Even to the day, if he decides to do one tomorrow, it's gonna be the business. You know what I mean? Rectangle,
right.
Rectangle. But yeah,
that's so cool, man. And then you got like, when did you and him, just since we're on that topic, when did you and him meet in San Diego? You and Rectangle?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the exact year. Probably at some events, you know what I mean?
Were you young though?
Like, yeah, young. This was in the early days before he moved, and he was to up north, but he was in like North County in San Diego.
Okay.
But I would see him out at certain gigs, and then you know, we would definitely connect. But yeah, he's no joke.
Man, you got to tell us about the Up in Smoke tour.
Man, the tour of tours. Probably one of the biggest hip hop tours ever.
Yeah.
Biggest grossing. And that, like I said before, Dre is a perfectionist. So if you know, probably a lot of you guys have seen the Up in Smoke tour DVD, but if you haven't, definitely go check it out.
Yes.
Because when you watch that, pay attention to everything that goes on from the beginning of the show till the end. That is Dre's doing. You know, how he choreographed that whole thing.
Right.
From the effects to, you know, the music to the people, how, you know, the stage props was...
It was his vision.
This was a vision, just like creating an album. You know what I mean? He created the whole thing from beginning to end, man. And as a DJ, seeing him put this together and being a part of that was an experience I will never forget.
Absolutely.
And he just paid attention. He pays attention to every little detail, you know what I mean, to be on point. And man, I can honestly say, dude, everything you hear or everything you heard that comes out of those speakers on the Up in Smoke tour, from the effects, from the skull talking to everything, came from me.
Wow.
I orchestrated everything that came out of those speakers.
Wow.
So I had 2 turntables. I had like 3 mini disc, double disc players with pitch controls on them.
Yeah.
I had 2 instant replay machines. I know DJs, a lot of DJs and performers know about the instant replay. That's what most of them use to play their tracks, you know, a computer. But I had all this stuff up there, you know, sort of instant replays, doing special effects, all the effects, you know, the mini disc players for the tracks, because I would speed them up
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The instant replay, you can't speed, didn't have a picture control, but
Right.
my mini disc players did. Shout out to
Nice.
Denon, because they gave me those mini disc players for us to take on the road for this
Nice.
specifically,
Yeah.
so I could speed up the track because Dre wanted to do them faster. So I got that dialed in, you know, every
Nice.
track at the speed that he wanted. And everything that you heard come out, I was like an orchestrator back there
Yeah.
doing this. And then when it came time to do I Just Wanna F You, when Devin the Dude comes
Right.
out, they throw a wireless guitar up to me on my riser. So I play the intro.
Wow.
You know the intro where it's the guitar solo
Yeah,
or the
yeah.
song.
Yeah.
Watch the Up and Smoke Tour DVD. I'm doing all that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
right.
I'm not, you know, I'm not an egotistical dude, but
Yeah, yeah.
I did that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I did
Something to be
that.
proud of, you
and
know?
that was something that I pulled off, and that's something that Dre orchestrated, and I was really proud of that, you know what I mean? Because I made it happen. And that Up and Smoke tour, man, from city to city was like no other tour. Man, that was a life experience, you know what I mean? Just from doing the shows, and then I would rock the after party.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after the after party, we'd have to be on the tour buses to get to the next show to do it all over again.
Gosh.
For like 3 months straight.
Oh my goodness.
You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you had a
so-
young Eminem. You know
all
what I
that.
mean?
And
Like
we were like,
he was wild. He was out of
dude,
control then.
we were like kids in a candy store, dude.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You know what I mean?
Right.
Every night it was
Oh,
it was a
gosh.
story, you know. And I have all this on videotape, and I'm the only one. Dre had a crew recording the Up and Smoke tour. That's how they were able to put out the Up and Smoke tour DVD.
The DVD, yeah.
They would not let cameras or anything into the event, to the arenas.
Okay.
You couldn't do that. They would take it if they saw anybody filming, but I'm the only one that Dre let film because I had my camcorder, and I had just signed a deal with a company called Urban Box Office
Okay.
for my lifestyle content. And it was
Okay.
crazy because they signed Venus and Serena Williams, and they had signed Heather Hunter.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
yeah. The porn star.
So
yeah,
the
yeah,
porn
yeah.
star,
Yeah,
Heather
yeah.
Hunter, they had signed us at the same time. And it
Right.
was crazy because for me to sign the deal, they flew me to New York to the office to sign the contracts,
Wow.
right? So I get on the plane to go,
Yeah.
and guess who was sitting right next to me? Heather Hunter.
Wow.
They flew us both at the same time
Yeah.
to go sign the contract. So basically I was able to take two people. Dre let me bring two people on the road to shoot the camera work at the actual shows, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, for me. So I have all that footage too. That's part of the stuff. So yeah, that's footage like, you know, nobody's seen any of that stuff too. You know, even some of the footage that I have when I discovered Little Bow Wow. A lot of people don't know that, but I discovered.
Yes, I read that.
I discovered Little Bow Wow, and I have the footage.
In
'cause
Ohio?
I have, yes, in Columbus, Ohio, at a show, before our show. His father, I guess, knew somebody at the arena. And early when I was setting up my equipment, you know,
Yeah.
before sound check, they were setting up the cheers and stuff, you know, in the arena.
Yeah.
And so I'm up on stage, like, you know, testing my turntables.
Right.
And this guy's on the floor with his son, and he's like, hey, waving to me. So I come down off the riser, and he goes, hey, introduce yourself. And he's like, yeah, my son can rap.
Wow.
Right? He was like 6 years old
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, really? And yeah. So I pulled him up on the stage, and I put on a record, instrumental, and he starts flowing. And I mean, he's going off, rah, 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 and I'm just like, whoa. I stopped my record, and I'm like, all right, man. I break out my camcorder. I'm like, come on. I took him backstage to the dressing room where everybody was. Dre's in there, everybody. Dre has a boombox on playing
Yeah.
some Parliament and Funkadelic, whatever.
Yep.
We walk in there, me, Bow Wow and his father, and I was like, hey, everybody, you know, you got to meet this kid, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, Suge is in there, everybody.
Wow.
So we turn off the box, you know, I'm talking, introducing him. He's like, yeah. He can rap. He's dope. He's like, oh, but he had his music Funkadelic playing. So Bow Wow was like, oh, let the music play, right? So we
Yeah.
thought he was gonna rap over the Funkadelic stuff.
Yeah.
But he starts dancing
Wow.
like a routine, like really getting it in.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
whoa,
Right.
So he does that first. Then we we cut off the boom box, and he's like, all right. And then he does a rap, and he starts rapping, right?
Wow.
And everybody's blown away. and Dre's like, whoa. He's like, stop. He's like telling his father, can you guys go home and pack a bag? I want you guys to come on the road with us.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So they went home, came back to the arena. In the middle of our show, we bring him out on stage, a cappella.
Wow.
You know, so this little kid in the beginning, you know, it's packed.
Yeah.
Little kid comes up, and the
Yeah.
crowd's like, because they see a little kid come out.
Yeah, right.
You know, and the microphone, no music. It's like, you know, rap.
Yeah.
He starts rapping. Every city couldn't believe it. The whole crowd.
Oh, that's so dope.
Right?
Man. Yeah.
One of the cities we did was when we got to Atlanta.
Yeah.
When we got to Atlanta, Jermaine Dupri and Eric Sermon come.
Yeah, because that's when Eric Sermon was living there.
Yep. They were together.
Yeah.
They're backstage, and they saw Little Bow Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he rapped for him and everything. So that's Jermaine got to see him and everything. So remember that point.
Right.
Because after the tour was over, Little Bow Wow comes back to LA. That's was when we started working on Doggy Style.
And that's when I first heard him.
So we had him in the studio every day just to take in what
Yeah.
studio life is like, you know.
Right.
And then when we got to doing the skits, that was his first
I
time
wanna
on the
be a
mic.
mother.
What do you want to be when you grow
Yeah.
up? That was his first time breaking the mic.
That's so dope.
And then after that, Dre fell out with Death Row, and Little Bow Wow was just there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
with now, it's like, what do I do now? Right.
Right.
And so we knew how talented he was. So basically, because Jermaine saw him in Atlanta, and we knew Jermaine was good with kids because he had Crisscross and all
Yep,
that, right?
exactly.
And Escape contacted basically Jermaine and told him, hey, you want, you know, to do, you know, be with this dude and take him
Yeah.
under your wing.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, and the rest was history.
So this is a two-part question for you, Jam. So I know you're a hell of a collector, you know what I mean? And I want to know where the inspiration came, how that all started for you. And then you're also like an avid pet lover. Yeah. And I want to know where that came from too. So it's a two-part question on this one.
Okay, so the first one, okay, the
So we'll start with
collectibles.
the
Collectibles, okay. How the collectible thing started was, remember the O.J. Simpson trial?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I'm going to Cal State Dominguez Hills at the time
Okay.
that all that was going down. And the verdict was coming up. I think it was on a Monday or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm living on campus at Cal State Dominguez Hills in Carson, and just something told me something just didn't feel right. And I was like, I don't know if I want to be in town when these verdicts are read. It might be
Right.
get kind of crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
So I remember I went home for the weekend, right? So I drive home, get to the house. I come inside, and my parents had I had a couple boxes of like my old stuff as a kid, toys
Yeah.
and stuff like that in the
Yeah.
attic. Well, my parents remembered that I had a O.J. Simpson action figure from a kid. So they went to the box and they found it, and they had it sitting on the table in the
Okay.
living room.
Yeah.
So when I came home, I walk in and I see it on the table, and I'm like, oh yeah, my O.J. Simpson doll, whatever. And they're like, yeah. They're like, that's going to be worth a lot of money now, right?
Right.
And I wasn't collecting. That was just a toy I had when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was like, huh?
It was him
Like-
as a football player.
Yeah, he's a football player.
Right.
So I'm like, what do you mean it's worth money? They're like, yeah, that's going to be like a collectible, you know, because he's going through all this stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
and I'm like, oh, wow. That's when my mind
The light bulb
flipped.
hit.
The light bulb went off.
Yeah.
And I was like, and at that point, there wasn't like all this hip hop collectible stuff out. You know what I mean?
No, not
At
all.
all.
No.
So it was just a collector's item thing. And so that's
Yeah.
kind of like what got me thinking like that. And then later on, years later, and I started collecting stuff that I just grew up on as a kid at that point that meant something to me. Whether if
Yeah.
it was a TV show, a cartoon,
Right.
you know what I mean, a game, playing a game, I started collecting that stuff as memories, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And then later on after that, years later, that's when hip hop stuff started coming out.
Yeah.
So moved right
just
into
kept
that, and I was
going.
collecting hip hop and the stuff I grew up on as a kid. You know what I mean?
That's dope,
So
man.
that's where that inspiration came from.
You know, and then we were talking about Trill earlier, and you have a lot of stuff that you sold to Trill.
Trill, yeah, Trill has like, gosh,
posters
a lot
in
of my
there.
music action figures. They have my posters. They have my sticker collection, and my magazine collection up there.
Yeah.
I still kept some of the stuff from my most personable
Right.
stuff, especially all the Snoop stuff and all from our crew
Yeah.
type stuff. And then, I still kept some of my stuff because I'm setting up my live stream studio,
Right.
and that's going to be my backdrop.
Yeah.
But yeah, my collection can be basically most of it can be found at Trill. Shout out Trill, and I still have my regular collection though of my regular action figure stuff too as well. So
Okay.
I might put that on the trading blocks if I can find a store that's that's wants that collection. So
Oh yeah, you know, and I always tell people, man, there's a distinct difference between a hoarder and a collector.
Oh, yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Like,
hoarders have
I'm not
no,
keeping a
yeah, they
newspaper
don't. They
that I
carry stuff that's not even worth anything. They just keep it and throw it in there. No, I look at, not only as sentimental, but
Yeah.
it's also has a value there as well.
Absolutely.
So yeah, big time.
That's so dope, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember going in there at Trill, and I mean, you had, I think it was the Machiavelli
Yeah.
promo, and it was like coming soon. It had the
Yeah,
date on it.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
executive producer Simon.
Yeah.
I was like, this is crazy. you know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean?
have so many gems, man, from the crew still. It's crazy. You guys will be able to see it soon.
Definitely, man. I love it.
And with the key for the tour bus, look. That's the tour bus key. Original for Biggie.
Wow.
We didn't even talk about me dealing with Biggie, dude. I'm responsible for Biggie, for bringing him out, and I was there with him the night he was killed.
Yeah.
And that they split up into three and they
And
made
Down
3
the
songs.
Rings.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
made Notorious with Little
Yeah,
Kim.
yeah.
That's that from what I recorded. That's
Wow.
his verse. And they put Little Kim on it and made Notorious.
The
We didn't
doctor
even
says
talk
I
about
need
all
about
that.
3 weeks of
Yes,
recovery.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's me. That's my thing. Yeah. So, and then the night he was killed
Yeah.
was right down the street from my house. Bad Boy and Arista comes, picks me up at my house in a limo. We go down the street. It's an auto museum, right? They had a big party. A lot of celebrities. Everybody was there. Boom, boom, boom. After the party, we come out, and when you come out, it's like a covered parking, small parking area for like valet and stuff like that, right? So people's limos and cars were pulling in one side and then they go out the other, right? And then there's some parking spots right here.
Right.
So the limo pulls up, we get in the limo and pull right here, in between, and then waited for Puffy's and was riding with Biggie with their Suburban. So I'm in the limo with the record company executives, right? And I'm hanging out the sunroof because we're just waiting on them. You know what I mean? I'm hanging out the sunroof. I got a bottle of Moet champagne.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking around talking to people. Hey.
Right. Just feeling
And then their Suburban pulls up. It's like from here to the pole right there, right? And I'm out the sunroof. And all of a sudden the Suburban pulls up. They get in it. And I'm talking. Somebody's over here. A girl, something. Car pulls in. Boom, 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 boom. Right there. All of a sudden, I'm out here like this. The record execs pull me in. My bottle flies everywhere. They pull me down. Boom. Everybody's, you just hear scrambling. Skirt, skirt. Cars are everywhere. What's going on? What's going on? We pull out to the street and pull over. At that point, the limo pulls over. We're pulled over, just waiting. All of a sudden, one of the cell phones go off on the executive. Biggie's been hit. We're running to the nearest hospital. Right? Jermaine Dupri is in another Suburban because we're all about to go to this party in Hollywood Hills afterwards, right? They hit us. Biggie's hit. Follow us. All of a sudden, in Jermaine's Suburban, we're all 3 of us zooming through the streets. Going through the lights, everything to Cedar Sinai. When we get to Cedar Sinai, the street it's on, we get there. Police are already at the end of the streets. They see us come. They let us through. They blocked off the streets. We pull up into the emergency. They take Biggie upstairs, and we're sitting there in the limo. Just like we're sitting there about
Jam, you saw
30 minutes.
Biggie get shot.
Dude, I was right there. Then about 30 minutes later, somebody comes down, Biggie didn't make it.
What the fuck, bro?
So I was there with him to bring him to introduce him to the world, and I was there when he was taken out, dude. You know, they flew Biggie and Little C's to LA for me to do that project for him before his album came out. You know what I mean? So we were just like this, chilling. You know what I mean? Just met for the first time at my manager's recording studio. My manager at the time was a dude responsible for Dre and DJ Quick even coming out. All those mixtapes, those classic mixtapes that Dr. Dre used to put out. My manager was a dude that he used the studio, and my manager was the dude that had the booth at the Rhodium that sold the tapes. Right? So how I met him was when I was doing my mixtapes in San Diego, they started selling at the swap meets, right? Well, the dude at the swap meet, the reason why they were selling there because that was the dude that sold the Dre tapes from the Rhodium. So I would go to the swap meets just to get Dre's tapes from the guy, right? And then I started seeing what Dre was doing with the master mixes at the beginning, because nobody was ever doing that. The master mix like Dre and have one of the guys rapping at the beginning. I was like, oh shoot, I want to do that. So I started doing the master mix at the beginning, and I got my MCs to do the raps, right? So then people started buying them off the shelves at the swap meets in San Diego, right? So the dude noticed that. He's like, yo, I need to connect you with Steve Yano in LA to see if he wants to carry yours. You know what I mean? Because it's selling. So he called Steve Yano, sent me up there, drove to LA to the Rhodium, met him, gave him my it was an end of the year master mix, because at the end of the year, Dre did a end of the year master mix, where all the way through both sides of the cassette was little sections of each song. You know what I mean? Master mix. So I did that, gave it to him. He called me back the next week. Jam, I love this mix. I want to start carrying your tapes along with Dre's.
Wow, bro.
That's what Dre really tripped out on me when we had a talk. We talked about us being in that group, meeting at the apartment. But I said, I was the dude that Steve Yano was selling the mixtapes alongside yours, dude, at the Rodeo.
Bro.
Then when we started working on the album, remember Dre said, start coming to the studio? Right? Guess who I showed up with? He didn't even know this at the time. I showed up with Steve Yano to the studio.
Wow.
That's one of the things that solidified it too.
And then now, another gem is that I found out is that your uncle is Johnny Nash.
Yeah, my cousin.
Oh, it's your cousin.
My cousin.
Your cousin. Okay.
My second cousin, my father's first cousin.
Wow.
He did I Can See Clearly Now.
Yeah.
He's the one who discovered Bob Marley and the Marleys.
Really?
He got them their first record deal. Okay, let's go down another rabbit hole. Okay.
Right.
So, Johnny Nash, if you go back to his earlier works, he was like a crooner, like a Frank Sinatra. You know, he would come out in suits. You know what I mean? And sing and whatever. But then he was overtaken by the religion and the culture of Rastafari, right? From the U.S. And he wanted to go learn more about that.
Okay.
So, I mean, he told the family, I'm moving to Jamaica.
Wow.
And they were like, huh? You know?
Yeah.
Like what?
Right.
So he moved to Jamaica to do his writing, to write. And he needed a band at a point, to write, to do his music.
Yeah.
And he didn't really know anybody out there. So he started asking the locals, hey, do you know a band from out here? I need a band. I'm a singer.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you need to meet the Marley family. And people didn't know who they were at that time. They were local,
Right.
So, okay. So they went and introduced them to the Marley family, and he sang for them, and he blew them away. They were like, whoa, and he's told them I need a band.
Wow.
So they said, okay, we got you, right?
Right.
So when it was come time after he wrote his songs, now he needs to record his albums, right? So Johnny recorded in London.
Okay.
Marleys had never been outside of Jamaica in their life.
Yeah.
Right? So for the first time, they leave Jamaica and they go to London with Johnny to record an album. And they were just like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shock,
This is, culture shock, right? So, and then after that, Johnny got Bob his first record deal.
Oh my gosh.
Hooked him up. So that was history. So it was because of Johnny that they set foot on American soil for the first time. Wow. because when Johnny had the tour after the album, right?
Yeah,
He had
yeah.
to do his tour, right?
Right.
So, okay, tour time,
Yeah.
come to America. They had never been to America.
Wow.
So it's documented in books like Johnny is kind of one of the ones responsible for reggae music coming to the U.S.
The US.
in the first place.
Hands down.
And this is another crazy thing. So Johnny would do his concert, right? Guess who would open up for Johnny? Bob Marley.
Oh my goodness.
So Bob Marley and his band, Bob Marley would have his guitar. He gets out there and does his show.
Is opening up for him.
Yeah, he does his show. And then after his song, he goes to the back with the band and Johnny comes out.
Wow, man.
It's crazy.
That's
even
just
to
like
say
next
that,
level,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, yeah, Bob Marley used to open up for me.
Yeah,
You know?
but it's documented and it's facts, you know.
That's beautiful, man.
And which is also, while we're speaking to Johnny, that was my introduction to really me and my love for animals.
Yes, that's why, yep.
So we were living in Dallas at the time.
Okay.
And Johnny lived in Houston. And I would go in the summertime, we would go visit Johnny, and I
Yeah.
would stay with him like in the summer. And
Right.
he had property in the country and all that, and he had horses, and he had a lake and all that. And he basically gave a horse to me as my official horse when I would come
Wow.
out there, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I would fish and catch catfish and get to ride the horse, and he would take me shooting in the country and all that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I think my love for animals really started on another level. And inside his house, he had a recording studio.
Okay.
So I would take all that in, and musicians and all that doing his thing in the recording studio. When I
Yeah.
was a little kid, like, whoa, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I got hit with the music bug and the animal bug, from Johnny. So
Wow, man.
Yeah.
And what are some of the animals that you've had, Jim?
well, of course, I had dogs, but exotics. I've had miniature potbelly pigs.
Wow.
3 of them, all of them highly trained.
Okay.
One was in a music video as well. And
Really?
then I had, and that was before I bought it. It was Young Pig, but it was actually it was a group called the Space Hogs or something, and it was they actually used it in the video.
Oh, I'm thinking it was like in a death row video.
No.
Oh, which video was that? Yeah.
And then I've had 3 monkeys, raised 3 monkeys.
Wow.
I raised hairless guinea pigs and learned how to genetically break down guinea pigs to make them hairless. You
Really?
know, I studied that, and so I would ship hairless guinea pigs around the world, and my biggest buyers were kids that were allergic to pet dander.
Okay.
So that was crazy. I had all that big, shipping those all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Fish tanks, crazy fish tanks with turtles, fish, and eels. Turtles and tortoises.
Yeah, because speaking of, because we're at your home right now, and you have a collection of your turtles and like here,
Yes.
you know, and
So now, when we skip to today, I have a rare turtle tortoise business that I breed turtles now, and rare tortoises. I have 3 different types of star tortoises, 4 different types of box turtles, and then
Yeah.
I have a big sulcata, who I'm not breeding, but it's my boy Dusty. It's my big, huge sulcata.
yeah.
So yeah, man, they're growing, and they should basically start having babies soon. So can't wait for that to start happening.
Wow, man. What's the joy that brings you, you know? I mean, it's got to be something like that you're truly passionate about, and it's got to just be a great, like, it's a love,
Taking,
you know?
yeah, taking care of animals and raising them. It's really therapeutic, relieves stress.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm inside working on music, recording radio shows and all that, that's my getaway. I just come right out to my backyard, and I'm in a whole nother world with my animals, and that creates that balance for me, you know. It's like having kids, you know what I mean, taking care of them. So yeah, big time. Shout out to the animals.
So tell us what's next, man. What you got going on now, Jim?
A lot as usual. I keep a lot going on my plate, but I have 2 syndicated radio shows that I do right now, and basically just finished developing them to a point to where they're ready to be shopped all to stations around the world.
Okay.
Right now, I have a show called The Hot Spot. That's my regular club mix, like you're at a club type music.
Yep.
And then I have another show, which is one of the first of its kind. It's called Midnight Grooves. And on that show, I mix sensual hip hop. Not regular hip hop, but sensual. So it's got be about female subject matter, which is half of the rappers' albums. Now,
Right.
you know, anyway.
Right.
So in mixing that with R&B music, you know what I mean, and Afro beats and Latin soul. And I started that show, Midnight Grooves, on radio, LA radio, on 92.3 The Beat, back in 1995. And it was the first show in the country to do a mix like that of its kind. And 1995, if you look back, that's when rappers were really talking about female subject matter. You know, after LL Cool J came out with I Need Love and all that, rappers started getting on that, singing in the hooks and all that. And I was like, wait a minute, this could actually be a show where I key in on this type of music. And I got to play a lot of the music that didn't come out as a single, you know, because they might have put out one of those songs as a single, but they had other songs, so I was able to highlight those other songs on the radio nationally, like that. So
and was this when Theo was on that?
Yes.
Wow.
Same period Theo was in.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So and shout out to Michelle S., the program director at The Beat, because she actually believed in it, you know, in my idea, and let me start the show. And after I started it, it went like #1 after the first book afterwards.
That's dope.
I've been doing that ever since. Even after I stopped radio for a while, I kept it going as a mix CD and a mix DVD. I have mixed DVDs where we bring my mixed CDs to life and we record. I had guest hosts. So the first one to do the first mixed DVD was actually DJ Spinderella.
Really?
I think it was Volume 3. Midnight Grooves Mixed DVD Volume 3, hosted by DJ Spinderella, was the first one we actually filmed.
In 95.
First of its kind.
Oh,
so
man.
I started my first Midnight Grooves in 98. So probably it was early 2000s. Volume 3 came out around early 2000s of that. Yeah.
Oh gosh. My bad. So you came to The Beat in 95, right? And then you started.
No, 92. I was at The Beat.
But
in
that
1992.
Show, okay.
And I started the show in 95.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So okay.
And then after that is, I can't remember which exact year. A little bit after, maybe 2006ish. Around there is when Spinderella hosted the first one that I actually brought to life.
That's dope.
Yeah,
man.
so in the radio, have those shows, about to be shopping those, satellite radio as well.
Yeah.
So it's on a station in Africa, Kinnis 104.1, out of Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay.
And it covers 3 total states over there. So it's like 10 million in audience. And then I'm on a station in Australia, in Adelaide, Australia, Fresh 92.7. Shout out DJ Lisa D. I'm on her show, which is called Freaking It, on Tuesday evenings. And then I'm on the show in the station in Africa, Hot Spot, Saturdays, and Midnight Grooves on Sundays.
Nice.
And you can catch it broadcast live on Twitch now, Saturdays and Sunday nights, that I do on Twitch. So that's what I'm doing radio-wise. I'm actually about to start broadcasting and streaming on Twitch, blogging, where I'm just talking to you about my life in animals and music and collectibles.
Right.
I'm going to be traveling around the world with a camera and a cameraman doing that.
Nice.
And that's basically going to lead up to a podcast, because a lot of the streaming on Twitch is going to be cut up and made into a podcast, which is going to start. And all of the stuff that I'm talking about, which is the radio and all these podcasts and the streaming on Twitch, is to really get me in a position to be ready for my documentary series, which is being worked on in the background.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're going to be seeing, you could be watching me watching these tapes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For the first time on Twitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just watching them before we even get to the editing process, to bring people into that world, to get them ready and show them the behind the scenes for that. So all this is in the works right now on that end. So radio and working on this documentary, and of course my animals takes up, that's my focus these days. So.
I love it. And the shows are staying, you stay booked.
Yeah,
you know?
travel. Oh, of course. I stay traveling around the world, DJing the biggest clubs, concerts, festivals, events.
Yeah.
I'm about to leave next week to China. I'll be in Beijing DJing. I'll be in Shanghai. Then I'm going to Thailand, Phuket, Cambodia. I'll be over there for
Yeah.
like 3 weeks, so most of April. Yeah.
Anything with Snoop and Dre that you still doing?
I haven't done anything in a while. It's been a minute, but I would hook up with Snoop for certain events that I'm able to do. But yeah, it's just good seeing him, even if I don't DJ, if he comes to town, even just to watch him DJ, not even at a concert, but like he comes to out here to Arizona as well. He just DJ'd like 2 weeks ago. At an event, so I'll go and connect with him there too to give him that support, because I know I'm one of the reasons why he's a DJ today,
Right.
and that's from him watching me DJ, especially these after parties of us being on tour.
Yeah.
He would come to the after parties and just see me blowing up the spot,
Yeah.
and then he was like, oh, and then now he's DJing. So Snoop.
All right, man. This is the final question here, man. We like to end this just on a positive note. You know what I mean? It's just always good to remember your friends, family, all the ones from day one, man, that, you know, that were in your corner, your supporters, you know, fans, whatnot. When I say the word special, it doesn't necessarily mean you're on a pedestal. It just means that to all those people, you are special and you are someone that they admire and love. So this question here for you that we're going to end with: how does it feel to know you're special and extremely loved?
Yeah, it's weird to me still, even though I've been through a lot of things and made it to where I am today. But I mean, I really appreciate, you know, people's gestures and everything that they put out to me, and it just, to me, it just confirms like all the hard work that I put in to even be who I am today. And it also reminds me of the people along the way who have helped me become who I am today, because without a lot of people and without a lot of support from people around me, I might not have made it to certain places. So I never take things for granted when people you know, appreciate the things that I've done, because I'm very appreciative. And you know, even you know, big time to Dre and Snoop, man, because like I said, I didn't grow up in LA, you know, and coming from San Diego to LA into that market where there's so many great DJs, man, that I looked up to, that I listened to on K-Day, you know, with a clothes hanger in my radio just so I could pick up the station in San Diego, and to be friends with these guys, you know, after, and being accepted by them when I moved to LA really meant a lot to me. And these relationships, man, you know, really kept me going even to today. I have relationships with everybody, and you know, they're really nice and always been there for me. So yeah, man, you know, never take things for granted. Be appreciative for the things you have, and I can never say, oh man, but you know, I'm not at that level, you know, as some of these other ones might be. But you know, for me to get to where I am right now, I know I've done a lot of things. I know I've been in position to do a lot of things that people would dream about. You know what I mean? If they had the opportunity. So I'm really grateful, very grateful.
And there you have it. I'm Dave Miranda.
I'm DJ Jam.
And this has been another incredible episode of Just Give Me 5. Until next time, y'all. Oh, and you see the sweater? Shout out to my brother Bobby Anthony and the On the Sunday Afternoon crew. Let's go, baby. Peace, y'all.